The health department seems fixated on the dollar amount in the budget, as the Ottawa Impact Commissioners seem fixated on the same thing. The two entities are talking past each other, and the drama of narrative just keeps right on a-going. A question. Oh, to the credit of the Ottawa Impact Commissioners, they did run on this issue, and they are delivering on their promises to their voters. A question comes up in the meeting on the 19th as to who has the authority to move funds around inside the budget. Does the health department have the authority to move health department funds around within the health department? During the discussion, the health department rep tries to make an emotional plea for people's jobs. We have a huge cut in health education, and we still aren't sure what that means, since Hambley hasn't gotten many reports about how many people we are serving through our health education budget, or what exactly we are spending that on. The health department rep gets a little belligerent and seems to be reaching for totally irrelevant data to support her department getting more money. Bonnema seems to disagree about whether or not he's been involved in conversation with veterans and Sylvia Rhodea. Rhodea insists that he has not been. That was an interesting interjection. And finally, a letter sent to Gretchin Cosby has been obtained from Jacob Bonnema. The letter is very much in support of him, and we will analyze it a little bit today. My name's Thomas, and this is the Holmes Politicast. Wow, that I gotta say that last part was quite well timed. I didn't mean to do that, but there you go. that was cool. So the health department is fixated as of last week. They were fixated on the dollar amount in the budget. Everybody seems very fixated on dollars and how much of this is going to be available and in what areas, and the health department's asking, can we move money around? And so I sat and watched the 2.5 hour meeting last week so that you don't have to watch 2.5 hours of commissioners and department heads talking past each other, because I do that work for you. Shameless plug. If you appreciate what I'm doing and you don't want to have to sit through all that, you want a source that you can trust to give you both sides, not just the side that the Holland Sentinel wants to share with you, then like my videos, share me with friends here in Ottawa County. You can make my work more profitable for this county by sharing and liking it. All right, so the first part of our discussion here is there's this disagreement going on between the county commissioners about whether or not this is a cut. The Ottawa Impact Commissioners say this is not a cut. They are not cutting anything. This is the second highest budget that has been seen in the last 15 years and the highest budget outside of COVID budgets. So that's the argument from the Ottawa Impact Commissioners, which I think is, it's not a bad argument. It's not like the health department is losing just tons and tons and tons of money. I think what the discussion boils down to is that disagreement about the there's these line items which you've seen if you've watched this show before. If you haven't, you can go back, watch last week's, and you can see the budget, the line items there that we talked about, and one of them is health education. Now, I and probably many other of our residents have no idea what health education means. What we see is the health department going out and advocating for itself at the Gay Pride Parade or Grand Valley's Kinky Sex Week or any of these other various lewd places that the Ottawa County Health Department has been seen. And we figure, just maybe erroneously, we figure that that's part of health education. And there are other things that we figure are part of health education that, I don't know, maybe they're not. Well, it's kind of hard to tell what is actually health education because they don't line item budget things. They don't tell us what they're doing. They just say, we need this giant sum of money. Please give it to us. Oh, yeah, we can't tell you how many people it's servicing. We can't tell you exactly what's going on with it, but we really need this money. Otherwise, services are going to stop. Well, some of the services that the health department are doing are services that the county residents don't want them doing. They just don't want them around for a lot of that stuff. We don't want county dollars spent on things like Grand Valley's Kinky Sex Week. So, and that's just one example. Maybe there was no money spent on Kinky Sex Week. I don't know, because the health department doesn't give us there had to have been some, right? Because we had a representative there from the health department. So at least that money was spent for Ottawa County to be represented at Grand Valley's Kinky Sex Week. So we have this argument that, the budget is what's making the cut here. And I guess we'll listen to the argument, and then we'll talk a little bit about what they're exactly saying.
But, this budget makes this cut. This board, through whatever mechanism, put these cuts on the table. I think the burden of, who should be explaining should be the board, is saying, why are we cutting health education, as opposed to health education doing the opposite, right? I mean, if you're making the cut, you should be explaining why you're making the cut. And again, this was a question asked earlier. I don't think there was an answer. I mean, would Commissioner Miedema be opposed to them cutting out of food? I mean, if you're cutting the budget by $367,000, in a sense, you're just giving them less resources to work with. I mean, you're not telling them specifically to cut out of food, but you are definitely giving them less resources to work with. In a sense, you are making that cut for them.
So I'm not sure why Doug brings... Darn it. Didn't mean to do that. So I'm not sure why Doug brings in the Ottawa food. The budget has this line that says health education. Again, we don't really know what that means, so we don't know what exactly is being cut. Maybe the commissioners know exactly what's being cut, or what exactly that goes to, but I don't. And it seems like maybe Doug doesn't either. I'm not sure. I can't speak for him 100% there, but he seems to be saying that it almost seems like he's saying that when health education is cut, then the health department has less to work with for the rest of their stuff, as if the rest of the funding is going to go into supplement health education. And then we're still going to spend money on health education, just everything else kind of declines in services. I'm not sure that that's how the budget works. I think it's just health education. But again, the health department isn't. I mean, the argument that Doug made there, that the health department shouldn't have to justify the funds that it's spending. I'm not sure how quite to say this without sounding snotty. It's a bit ridiculous. I mean, if we're spending money on a health department, they should be able to tell us, you are spending this money well. I mean, if somebody was giving, the podcast money, it's my job to justify that what they're spending their money on is worth it. Whenever money is spent, it should be justified as to why it's being spent, not the other way around. You shouldn't have to justify taking money away from something that you don't think is profitable. That doesn't seem right, especially in a government setting. Government is rife with waste. I'm not sure that we really should be explaining to the county health department that we don't like what they're... I mean, we did. We explained to them that we didn't like what they were doing by putting in 6 commissioners that would not support what they're doing. So, I totally disagree with Doug on that one, that they don't have to justify the money that they're using. I think they sure do. And maybe he didn't mean to say that. Maybe he was meaning only to say that to make this kind of a cut, we should actually justify it, which I think he's right in saying that it hasn't been justified. But he's wrong in saying that it should be. Like, if the health department needs it for something, they can ask for it, which is actually the subject of our next clip. Maybe it's not. So the health department gets a little... they try and steer the conversation. The rep here tries to steer the conversation in a way that is more profitable to her. She's saying that people's jobs are on the line here, and that, dang it, I can't ever, whenever I pause it at the beginning, it never stays paused. So the health department here is making some kind of attempt at a justification. Let's listen to our health department. I forget who exactly this is. Let's listen to the clip. We might find out.
Sounds like it's up for review, Marcia. Find out for certain.
Okay, before a vote or so, hopefully, because we're talking about people's jobs. And
Commissioner Rhodea.
I just would like to make a point that this is a discussion of the Board of Commissioners, and it's driven by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, so yeah, the discussion was, can these funds be moved around? Can the Ottawa County Health Department take the funds for something else and move it into health education? And I think the answer is gonna be no. I think the line delineations that have been made are pretty fixed from the commissioners, but Marcia tries to steer the conversation in a way that makes it seem like the commissioners are taking jobs away from people, which may be the case. It may very well be that the budget cut will force somebody out of the health department, which it doesn't seem like the commissioners are really interested in that. They have said that they'll do their best to find other areas that they can serve, but she's almost kind of trying to force the commissioners to put it on the agenda to like, oh, we've got to figure this out. We got to figure out how much control the health department has over all of their budget items before we pass this budget. And that's not really how it works. The health department or the board of commissioners decides how they're going to spend their discussion time. So Marcia gets a little belligerent here. She actually makes a totally erroneous, not totally erroneous, totally irrelevant, claim about the corporate counsel as maybe justification. I'm not sure. I watched this whole 2-hour
thing. You can see. Let's see. Let's pull this back up again. So, yeah, it's 2 hours and 12 minutes long, and she doesn't really justify again what exactly we're doing here with the budget. She doesn't say, we need this for XYZ. These are the things that will be cut. She just kind of, we need it. We're not really sure what's going to happen, but we sure do need that money. So again, it would be nice if the health department would tell us what they need it for. And they're talking to a board that isn't really friendly to them. Maybe they haven't been in the position of needing to justify themselves before, but I think they're finding that their position is a little different. Doug Zylstra may feel that they don't need to justify the money that they're asking for, that the board needs to justify when they say, no, you can't have that much, you can have this much. But as a citizen, I think most citizens would agree that, yeah, our government should probably be accountable for how they're spending our money. So again, not very much justification from the health department, and actually irrelevant excuses from the health department with this next clip.
It looks.
So here is the health department director getting a little spicy with, not the health department director, this health department representative, Marcia. I'm still trying to figure out exactly who this lady is, but she gets a little spicy with our commissioners here. Let's listen.
Looks like, as I look through your budget from, last revised budget from last year, there was opportunity for you to add funds to any particular program as well. It just has to come before the Board of Commissioners.
Those are typically turned down, but
No, actually, there was a pretty significant change. So pretty significant.
Corporation
So
Council's
let's go
budget
ahead.
went up 98% in 23 from 22.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. We're going to.
So saying that Corporation Council's budget went up, again, I would agree that Corporation Council, I don't know if they've effectively justified that increase in spending.
And in fact, it may be that spending is not at all, where it should be. But that's not a justification for the health department to get more money, is it? I don't think so. Kind of interesting. This was an interesting discussion here, and I mean the whole board of commissioners, the meetings. I mean, every single show that I do lately could be titled County Drama, just because, like, that is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with differences of opinion being stated as fact. And we're going back and forth, and we're saying, this is definitely a cut to the health department, no, this definitely is not a cut to the health department. They're getting their highest budget, almost ever, their second highest budget ever. So it's not a cut, because one person's looking at the overall budget, another person's looking at one line item, and it seems like everybody is committed to their own narrative. Again, shameless plug for me. I've got no narrative. I don't care who wins. I don't care who loses. I do care about what's going on and what is actually the truth. I do have a way that I vote, and I do have my own opinions, but I don't care. If the whole board goes Democrat the next election cycle, I don't care. It's not on me. I might have to live through the repercussions of it, but really, whatever. So, shameless plug for me. I'm not Sarah Leach. I'm not stumping for Democrats. I'm not stumping for my own opinion. I'm just kind of like, what is going on? And can we get something other than your opinion, please, everybody? Can we get some raw numbers? Can we get some data? Can we get some, just anything from the health department would be great. I'm doing my best to try and get, like, what has the health department actually supplied our board of commissioners, because as Gretchin Cosby have said often, she's getting it, as she said, in drips and drabs. So we'll see. Another thing that the county drama again is, like, the health or the commissioners. There are 6 that kind of run everything. We know that. They did allow leadership positions for non-Ottawa Impact Commissioners. Jacob Bonnema was the vice chair of this board, the County Finance and Administration Committee. He was removed from that position. And the reason given is because that the commissioners, well, Gretchen said that she doesn't really trust him to lead when she's gone. Joe Moss says it's not part of the repercussions of, launching a whole investigation that turned up nothing really. Gretchin Cosby says it is, yada yada. Everybody's got their own view on that, but and that's fine. That's a difference of opinion right there. A difference of, like, okay, Jacob says I'm just as able to run this board when you're gone as anybody else, and the other commissioners say, well, we don't trust you to. We don't trust you to, run the commission meeting well. But here we have what's not a difference of opinion. It's a difference of was he there or not? So, and again, I don't have the answer to this, but it's interesting that this came up. Miss Rhodea is quite convinced that Jacob Bonnema was not a part of some of these discussions with the Veteran Affairs Committee. So they're discussing the Veteran Affairs Committee. They're discussing whether or not, hiring a VA director is something that the veterans want and need. And well, let's listen to what happened here.
Potentially considering a hire of a county VSO officer here within the county to ensure stability and a high level of training and effectiveness in processing our veterans' claims. So we're hearing that when VSOs are traveling and serving different, entities or different counties, you don't have a stability of having one highly trained person that the vets can go back to over and over again. And so that is one of the really huge needs that we've been hearing.
It's not, though.
Excuse me.
Commissioner Bonnema, I don't think you have been part of the conversations that we've had with multiple veterans.
I have, though.
Commissioner Bonnema, you have not been a part of our conversations, and I'm speaking right now, so please refrain. In May,
So I got real tense. That was real tense. Wow. So maybe Bonnema means that he's been talking to veterans and he's been getting a totally different opinion from them. Maybe he means that he's been, involved in other discussions. And maybe he feels like he's been involved in the discussions, here in the county, the board meetings, that there have been many veterans that have talked at board meetings and that he's been a part of those, and that he hasn't seen that need for a director. But Miss Rhodea, Sylvia, is like, wow, she was mad. She was quite insistent that no, you have not been involved in any of these, and I'm talking right now. So I feel like just the tensions between the commissioners, the interruptions, just blatantly like dismissing each other, and it goes both ways. We see it all. Rather, I see it quite frequently. If you watch the board meetings all the way through, then you see it quite frequently where they're just kind of dismissive of each other and really can't even agree on facts at this point. It's really gotten to a quite an interesting place here. So again, every episode could be titled County Drama at this point, which brings us finally to a letter written to Gretchin Cosby. I'm not sure that anybody, I don't know that anybody else has this, but this is a letter that was written in defense of Mr. Bonnema. The letter reads, in part, we're not going to read the whole letter. This thing is like 2 full pages. So the first part of it just says that he's disgusted by the shameful and disrespectful treatment of my district commissioner, Jacob Bonnema. He talks about the resolution to censure him. He talks about the interaction between Gibbs and Mr. Bonnema. He talks about the TV reporter, which I'm not sure why quite he brings that up. Let's see. He says, this letter says, I think that most people would agree that it was Gibbs that caused the scene with his outburst and that it was inappropriate for him to talk to anyone that way. I'm not sure that
Most people would. Uh-oh.
How did I just totally switched. All right, it just totally switched scenes with me. So I'm not sure that necessarily most people would say that.
I didn't see the interaction. All I can go on is what everybody else is saying, which makes it come down to he said, she said. I think there's probably fault on both sides. I mean, Bonnema admits that he was quite loud himself. So I'm not sure that there is blamelessness on both sides. I find that whenever I'm involved in this kind of a situation, like there's always fault on my side too. And when I'm trying to resolve something like that, mostly with my wife, because that's who I offend the most. Not the greatest amount, but the most amount of times. I get a lot of practice with resolving issues with my wife. So what I do is I look for my own faults, and then I ask for forgiveness for what I've done, and that usually softens her a little bit to be able to talk about a little bit my point of view and how things are going. Now, maybe that's not an option for this Board of Commissioners. I think there's been a real lack of discussion between all the commissioners, so that might not be the case. But to say that most people would agree that it was Gibbs that caused the scene, I don't know, maybe. Did he take a poll? I'd like to see that poll. Was it all Ottawa County residents? How scientifically accurate is this? Let's see. He actually, it's interesting because he says that first that it was Gibbs that caused the incident, and then he says that blame for the incident lies with Joe Moss. Well, which is it? I'm not sure. He says both. So it's Gibbs' fault and it's Moss's fault. I'm trying to see that one. He goes back to the blame is also on Gibbs. So the blame is on Gibbs, but also Gibbs. I don't know. This letter just doesn't make much sense to me. So, he also says that the assertion that Mr. Bonnema did not follow the chain of command, that she should have gone to the board chair with his complaint, is laughable. Maybe not, but I don't know. I don't know exactly what the complaint chain of command is there. So, he says that this guy is very up to date on what the process is for complaints. I guess maybe I'm not as informed as he is, but he says that of course Gretchin Cosby was not included in the complaint. That's how it is supposed to work. So he says you clearly do not seem to understand the process. I'm not sure what the process is. So if he had included okay, here is where the process is laid out and this is where you can find it, then I would be more inclined to believe that he understands the process. But without that, I'm not sure that he really knows what the process is either. I went through this whole thing. Let's see. He says that the claim that Mr. Bonnema cost 3 months of business is totally ridiculous. It's the OI that kept the incident in the spotlight by proposing the censure resolution, then bringing it up months later to relieve him of his vice chair duties. Okay, I can maybe see that Ottawa Impact Commissioners have been bringing it up a lot, but also, I mean, the relation between Bonnema and the Ottawa Impact Commissioners has not been great. I feel like it's just getting worse and worse, which
isn't really going to help. I mean, the Ottawa Impact Commissioners, whether you like it or not, have kind of the power here. They have the majority, so I don't know what really can be done about this unless they get voted out, which is at least likely in my mind. The media is very against them. Not very many people seem to know much about the commissioners' meetings except what Sarah Leach says. So he says that you claim to not trust Mr. Bonnema as your vice chair. I think he is one of the most trustworthy members of the board. He says I can think of at least 6 members of the board that are far less trustworthy than Mr. Bonnema. I don't know, like that's just anti-Ottawa Impact rhetoric. So I keep on going through this letter. I mean, Mr. Bonnema sent it to me, and he was like, "Hey, read this," and I'm like, okay, I can read it, but it's just kind of he said, she said, nothing really substantiated, and then kind of just anti-Ottawa Impact stuff. So, as like I'm not anti-Ottawa Impact. I'm not really pro-Ottawa Impact. I'm kind of pro, figuring out exactly what's going on, but I'm not anti anybody or pro anybody in this kind of fight here. So I don't see it as being very convincing. I think if the Ottawa Impact people read it, I actually did agree with this on another note. Your little stunt of placing Adeline Hambley under oath seems to have failed miserably. It seemed an obvious play to catch her in a lie, so you'd have just cause to fire her. I think that is actually true. I agree with him on that. Try to catch her in a lie would have been a great way to get rid of her, but I didn't see that as being very likely. So this letter, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up in the Holland Sentinel, as devoid of fact and as strong an opinion as it is. I really, I can see that happening. So, and maybe other people in our county have a difference of opinion. If you can actually substantiate any of this, any of it, like if you can help me understand the process of how complaint is supposed to work, send me to the exact place where it's laid out how a complaint is supposed to work. That'd be a great way to substantiate it. Anything that you could substantiate of this, go ahead and do it. I would love to be able to interact with something real other than just opinion. So that is our county's drama for the week. Again, I appreciate all my listeners, all my viewers. I want to let you know that, if you want to support the work I'm doing, it's free for most people. All you gotta do is like it, share it with a friend, share it on your Facebook, share it on your, your group of, people that don't really trust the media. Wherever you want to share it, that'd be great. Also, subscribe to my channel. That helps me know that the content is valued, that I should be pouring more into it. I do have a lot of my time taken up, so it is nice to hear that the content is appreciated and more is wanted. So with that, I am going to end it for the week. I am positive that there will be more drama for us next week to talk about. If not, I'll find drama. It's not hard to find. Our county is so divided, and the left is working so hard in our county to make Republicans look like idiots. So the drama isn't very hard to find. Actually, the Republicans are doing their best to make Democrats look like idiots too. So it's always there. It's everywhere. So with that, I want to tell you to have a great week. All right. Don't drown yourself in drama. Let me drown myself in drama and then bring you both sides of the story. I'm Thomas, and this is the Holmes Politicast.